College. Today we're going to be talking about the topic of the 3 different types of learning styles: kinesthetic learning, auditory learning, and visual learning. We have 3 different people we're going to be interviewing today, and we're going to ask them about their 3 different types of learning styles and how those types of learning styles actually affect them in their academic success. Let's go see the first person we're going to be interviewing is a Pacific Union College student named Chelsea. Hi Chelsea, how are you?
I'm good.
So, do you have a specific type of learning style?
Yes, I believe I do have a specific type of learning style.
Which learning style is that?
It would be I am a visual learner, so I do have a visual type of learning style because I tend to learn more or learn best when I'm shown illustrations, pictures, and just graphs and stuff and those things. So it's easier for me.
So you're saying when you visually see something, you comprehend the material a little bit better than if you were to hear it or touch whatever you're being taught?
Yes, I think it's easy. It's really easier for me based on my experience whenever I look at my notes or pictures in the book before I take a test, because I am the person with a photographic memory. So all those things that I see visually are the things that I remember when it comes to the test, and it really helps me a lot.
So do you believe if Mr. Fulton were to only speak and not have any visuals such as PowerPoints and stuff like that, would you fail or pass the class? Or how would you perform academically?
Oh, I wouldn't really say that I'm not 100% sure that I would really fail the class, because I do study too, but I would actually prefer him to have all those PowerPoints, because I am not an auditory type of person and I have a very, very bad hearing. So it would be easier for me to look at PowerPoints, and it would help me to understand more than just hearing it aloud from him. And actually there is this one thing that happened in class, in my psychology class. I was really having a hard time with understanding this chapter in the book that talked about the neurons and everything and how they connected. So I was having a hard time with that until one day when Dr. Fulton illustrated it in class and used students to act it out in front of me, and that was the love story of the neurons and how they transmit signals to the brain. So that helped a lot, and that made me understand all the things that I really needed to learn for the test.
All right, thank you Chelsea for your time. Now to our next interviewer, who currently has a child in the 4th grade. So you currently have a child in the 4th grade. Do you notice any specific visual or any specific type of learning style that he shows in the classroom that helps him comprehend what he's being taught?
Well, with my son, I didn't know what his learning style was until we moved. But in his previous school before moving, he was struggling in school. Homework was very hard for him. It was tears every night to get the homework done. And so I didn't know why he was struggling so much until we moved. When we moved and he went to his new school, his teacher uses her teaching styles to accommodate the child's learning styles. And I noticed that's when he started improving his, he started learning better, having less trouble with his work, and I really think it's because she is teaching and addressing his learning styles. And I've noticed that he is very visual and kinesthetic. He's hands-on, he needs manipulatives and needs to do things to also learn.
Okay, so you do believe that his specific learning styles contribute to his academic success if they are used in the classroom?
Yes, I do believe so. I've seen a great improvement in his academics and his learning since he's been at this new school and the teacher teaches to his learning style, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. Our next interviewer is a current elementary school teacher named Autumn Boyle. So, Miss Boyle, do you currently use any of the 3 types of learning styles while you're teaching in your classroom?
Yes, I use all 3 learning styles in my classroom every day. I use visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning styles.
So, do these, when you're using these visual or these kinesthetic learning styles, do you actually see the other students being more like, do they actually engage in the classroom activity when you're using these specific learning styles?
Yes, I noticed that, for certain students, their style may be visual, and if I teach a more visual-orientated lesson, then they definitely pay attention more and learn more, and vice versa with all the others.
Okay, so are you saying that if one of the students was an auditory learner, but you were only using kinesthetics and visual learning, would that specific student show less interest in the subject? Would they be distracted? Would they go do something else?
Well, they still have to sit there in class. I mean, it's class, but they still seem to pay attention whether they're actually learning, and focusing on the material is another matter.
So if you were to give the student a quiz right after you just taught them the subject, but you didn't use the specific learning style, would they pass the quiz? Would they fail? How would they do?
They tend to do not as well as if I taught it in auditory, like their learning style, but they still do pass.
So you say that all teachers in their classroom should try to use all 3 types of learning styles for the benefit of all the other students then?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, and that's all our interviews we have for today. Thank you for listening, Pacific Union College. Now we're going to talk to some of the 2 psychologists, and we're going to see what they have to say on these kinesthetic, auditory, and visual type of learning styles. These psychologists are going to explain to us whether teaching to these learning styles actually benefit the students, or if it's just an urban myth and the teaching styles don't really benefit the students at all.
I'm Dr. Victor, and I'm here to bust the myth about teaching styles and learning styles in America. Soon, in 1984, Ronald Hyman and Barbara Rosoff described 4 steps of the learning styles approach. The first step was to examine each student's learning styles. The second step was to classify each style into one of a few categories. The third step was to match it to a teaching style of the teacher. And the fourth step was to teach teachers step 1 through 3 in the training program. Some schools even ask children to wear shirts with the letters VAK, which stood for the learning styles visual, auditory, and kinesthetic in the classrooms. This proved that teaching styles and learning styles don't affect the amount of information a student comprehends in the classroom.
Hi everyone, my name is Christine Katakutsan, and I am one of your psychologists for today that will be discussing the myth on whether students learn best when their teaching styles are matched with their learning styles. There is no scientific evidence to back up this statement. There are barely any peer-reviewed articles. For example, there are 3,605 ERIC entries that were entered in relation to learning styles, and only 1/4 were peer-reviewed articles. All the experiments that were done to claim that teaching styles that are matched with learning styles of students failed to support this statement, but there are evidences that support on why Hyman and Ross's claims on learning styles approach are not true. The first question is there a clear concept of learning styles? No, there is not a clear concept of learning styles. The VAK model, where students are put into visual, audio, or kinesthetic ways, basically labeled in the learning styles, are just sensory based. The Honey-Mufford model, where students are put into different groups, such as activists or theorists, have nothing to do with sensory. There is no conclusion on what the clear definition of learning styles is. The second question that comes to mind is that is there a reliable way for parents or teachers to determine that and analyze the learning styles of their student? The answer to this question is also no, which is based on the research of Gregory Kratzik and Catherine Arbuthnot. There is no relationship between learning styles and VAK performances. No group of people who are labeled under V, A, or K did better than one another on an exam. How well a student does on an exam may depend on how much the student is trying to learn the material, rather than the certain way they are learning. The students might not be absorbing the material and there is a lack of context. The third question that arises is whether or not there is evidence that supports how effective matching the teaching styles of the instructor to a student's learning skills really are. There is no evidence. Many studies have failed to show evidence. For example, in the film Freedom Riders, the teacher Gruwell did not match her teaching styles to the learning styles of her students, but her students still excelled on exams. The fourth and final question, is that can teachers be trained to match their teaching styles to the students' learning styles? Once again, this lacks scientific evidence. There is inconsistent advice on how a teacher's teaching methods should be. Unfortunately, to the people who have believed that students learn best when teaching styles are matched to their learning styles, have been believing a myth all along. This is not true, and there is no scientific evidence to prove that this statement is correct. People have been listening to the word of mouth rather than finding the evidence for themselves.